Similar instruments are found all over the world, like santur in Iran, yangqin in China, cymbalum in Hungary and Romania, santuri in Greece, half-brick in Germany, hammered dulcimer in certain European countries and America. Santur is played with a pair of curved sticks made out of walnut wood. It produces a variety of lively tonal effects, reminiscent of the piano or the harp. With the innovations carried out on it by Pandit Shiv Sharma, now savor the fragrance of blooming Rajnikandha, keeping pace with the slow unfolding of night melody.
Hello there. Good evening. This is Dr. Rao Kulusu coming to you live on several channels: Clubhouse, Wisdom, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I hope everybody is doing well. Uh, Today, I'm going to the final edition of this series. I do the series on one topic several days, and on this topic of be your real self, which is beyond your ego and personality, that self that is animating our body and mind. That is what I was talking about. Be yourself. This is the final edition, and I'm going to talk about that in terms of what is going on and what actually it should be. It's not like a intellectual exercise, rather a discovery by yourself who's going inward, right? That is what we are talking about. A lot of people think that they can put their intellect, analyze it, and come to a conclusion of what it is with their mere superficial cognitive understanding, and carry that like a concept and apply that and really be in that. Okay, so this is the final edition. Let me invite my friend Sanya. She's here. Uh,
Hi, Dr. Ram.
Hi, Sanya. You're missing in action, huh? Finally, you came today.
So good, Dr. Ram.
That's okay. This is the final edition on this series, so you came in the right time, because I'm going to go to different topic later on. Uh,
Sounds great.
yeah, it's more like the series we were doing. What is our real self? Like, are we just this body mind complex or something beyond it? See, that's what we were looking for, right? So most of the people think that intellectual exercise or understanding in a cognitive way, they can reach the self, which is actually, it makes you live on the superficial surface only, but doesn't allow you to go deep within yourself. That's where we make fundamental misjudgment of what it is of. That's why it remains elusive. The longer you kind of swim on the surface, you'll be swimming on the surface all the time. Intellectual assessment is for things outside. Suppose you have an infection. I'm not going to give you philosophy. I'm going to give you medications that will attack that infection, because your body is invaded by a foreign agent, and we need to give you all the help you need at the time before it kills you, right? So I'm not going to say, COVID, just sit down. I mean, ask you to calm your mind and be calm and all that. But then you got to have the right treatment, which we investigated for and found as a research community and gave it to you, right? So at the same time, if you want to really understand yourself, you cannot go there with some arguments, conceptions, and all. That's what people do in these clubhouse rooms also. They kind of argue about a point. That's that's not the point, because what you are inside, you know about it, you have a feel for it. I cannot sit back and say Sanya is this and all that. Because I cannot really experience who you are like you experience yourself, right? Make
Sounds good to me.
no makes sense, right? You want to your experience of, for example, you are really um, sad, but you don't want to show the entire world. But your experience sadness is something that you experience. I may describe so much, but still I will never have the experience. I can empathize, saying, "Oh, I also know how that feels and all that." That's fine. But actual experiencing moment, you are the one who is experiencing, but I'm not the one. So that's the same way with the deeper self of yourself, which is your reality. you know I took this topic because people with so much energy and so much dug in that position and want to go to different people to give them uh, kind of information or knowledge, they call it. And then they say, okay, I'm coming with so many people, talking to so many people, but all those people may not have the same kind of experience, may not be having the same this, and they are happy to just say some things and be happy. So this is all the intellectual exercise. This is where the ancient Eastern practices and then modern this religious practices differ. Even in the ancient Christian theology and all, they also have that. Eckhart is one of the major person, not Eckhart Tolle, but there was a Meister Eckhart, way back after the Christ has demised and all, he was there too. So there are so many people like that that also were contemplative, and they were Christian societies, lived in isolation, and conducted this reflection, contemplation, meditation, and discovered the self too. But then, uh, as a race, as a people who kind of went into them pretty deep, the Asian continent was very deep in this. That's where we can find treasures if you go and discover them. But then you cannot make it an intellectual exercise. You cannot give it to somebody this understanding. They got to realize themselves by moving inward. That's where it fundamentally differs from the modern scientific process of going analyzing an object. But then this self we are talking about is not really your object. It is the subject. Everything else is object to it. Even your mind, your body is an object to it. See, that makes sense. Trisha is here. Hi, Trisha. Pat is here too. Welcome. So we just started the discussion. So as we unfold this discovery of our real nature, the objects to that is even the mind, even the body. And that's why these people are very healthy, lived long, and lived in really wellness and also in joy. I'm trying to bring that to some degree to my patients, because when they come to me that they are having this some disease, usually they are kind of perturbed, they kind of anxious, then they imagine so many things, or if they are really educated, they may feel like some things may be lost for them and all that. So people have projects, people have missions to accomplish, and this kind of illness kind of puts a break on them. Then they're obviously body-wise they're suffering, mind-wise also they're suffering, right? Anxious, depressed, and all that. So this perspective of bringing them to their real self, the sense of being, really moves the body and mind to the outside of you as an object. Then whatever the mind is thinking and moving becomes an object too. That is where the power is. Then your mind will not be moving and making its own problems, but you kind of use the mind to chart the way, to see what you can be done now. Not getting depressed, getting emotional, getting really weak by that. It's not that human to be weak like that. Human has this capacity to have that superpower like that, which is actually us. If you bring it out, then that's actually what happened to me. You remember I told you, Sanya, when I was laying in the ICU, I would not allow my mind move from what is in front of me. You know, yeah, everybody thought I'll be really sick with worry with what's going to happen with my huge practice, what's going to happen with my big positions I have in the hospitals, what's going to happen with my number of employees, what's going to happen with all the revenues that were generating, that were getting, and all that, what's going to happen with my wife and children and all. I said, nothing is going to happen. I'm going to first face this experience like what I understood, what I have learned, and then go from there. So that means, first thing is, any situation, be in the present. What does it mean? Be in the present means just to pay attention to what is happening and not allow your mind to go to the past, like, oh, what did I do? What mistake I did? I happen to have this, and then regret and be sorry for yourself and all that. Don't do that. So don't go back to the past. Whatever happened, happened. Then don't think about what may happen, because that is a lot of people spend the time. I think Mark Twain, he said, my life is full of disasters that never happened. That means they're all in the mind, that he's imagining them and all that, right? He expressed beautifully, I thought. So, can you be like that? Can you be here and now? And then that suspended thought, the suspended movement of thought, and being in the present, you can do that every situation actually. Suppose I was doing something this afternoon and we got this beautiful music we played. So I thoroughly enjoyed that music because I don't know the language Bengali, but then the tunes and all reminded me of my language songs when I listened to them. Almost same tunes, but the music is so tilting and very nice. Okay, so the fact I didn't know the language didn't bother me. I was just immersed with the kind of music they were playing and all that, beautifully rendered, beautifully composed and all, So I am in the moment with the music, not analyzing or assessing what's going on here, why do I don't understand. Those irritations are there. You see, being in the present helps you to live fully here and now, because that is really only what we know. If we really don't have a moment of thought, then what it is, then in the present. Suppose you are achieving a project, fine. You have you brainstormed, you want this kind of result, that's all fine. And but then when you are breaking them down into various steps, what I do is, with each step, stay completely here and now. Then my full attention, my full energy, otherwise, I'm putting my energy into the past or the future, thereby, I'm moving away from the life which is me here. So, not wasting the energy, putting all energy in that, that gets done with full attention and with quality. And that is the secret of many people who practice meditation. They kind of focus themselves, balance themselves here and now. And then they expend all energy right there. So they don't waste any energy. Make sense, Sanya?
Yeah.
Do you do that?
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, these days, Dr. Bell, I'm a little, like, we don't think much about our thoughts or our minds, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, if we need it, we just use it, right?
Yeah, good. So you can identify the thought as your instrument. That's good, So actually, that's a beautiful thing because I'm here in this room. I want to share something with my friends. I don't have to convince them. I just want to share. They may have a different background, they may have a different way of looking at it. That's fine. All I have to do is fully share with the intention of sharing only. No question of expecting even the appreciation or praise or anything. My intention is to share. That's it. And then that completely fulfilled. uh, Whether you take it or not, really it's your business. And also I have to respect that you will know what you know, you will understand what you will understand, and you will have your own perspective, which we should expect. What I am relating is how I do something fully present in the moment. You know what that happens then? I discover my flow. So things can be, yeah,
Enjoyable.
yeah,
Just like,
yeah. I discover the flow, and in the flow, I'm really kind of not expending any energy, and I'm joyfully working. That is the good part I enjoy. So even if a very difficult task comes to me, I test myself. Where am I focusing on the difficulty part and the intricate parts that I need to do? I need to focus more energy there, or am I being threatened by it, or am I trying to defend myself? Oh, I shouldn't be exposing myself. Then everybody will think I don't know. Those, all that moment of ego, moment of mind, I don't have that. So I don't have to waste energy. You see what I mean?
yeah, I mean,
Let
I'm really starting to appreciate all of the stuff that is available
Yeah.
to be able to, like, go beyond what we see in terms of physicality and you know
see. Yeah. I know you are trying to be in the present all the time. That's what the wellness club should have taught you, because we were doing that, right? In the morning when we are there, we want to be here and now. We don't want to engage in conversation and all that, but then focus on what we are doing. Because the purpose is how can we fortify our nervous system so that it won't jump into something into the past or something in the future. It doesn't happen just like that, because we are used to that kind of way for years most of the time. Because but then once if people are practicing from the beginning, well and good. But majority of the people I see, they are always in the thought, and then they are not really uh, you know, thinking by themselves, thinking happening to them. They are not actively, uh, consciously thinking. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. And now this intellectual exercise is for the external things, all the sciences external. But then your inner self, which is a subjective thing, you cannot do it by intellectual exercise. Even if you understand so many things, you cannot really employ that. What you can employ, that is, how can I discover my own inner self? See, I was reading a introduction to a great text from India. I was reading the introduction itself. It took 1.5 hours. They wrote that big introduction to the book. Uh, but that itself was very, very significant. In that, they were talking
yeah,
about various situations where this intellectual exercise is done over their own inner reality and never able to touch it. And my thing is, once you touch it, you are so peaceful, so calm, so serene, and joyful. You get into flow state just like that, anything that you do. You know, that's what I was talking about. Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's not an overnight thing, Dr. Rao, because
Yeah.
every day it's like for me, not only trying to interpret what you said, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we do everything by experience.
Yeah.
Then until we kind of like not focus but tune in on those kind of things.
Yeah.
Do we have access to the things that you're talking about, right?
That is the word. What you said, Sonia. Experience. That is the word. You want to experience yourself, not intellectual about it. Intellectualizing it, making a conception, theory out there. That is the problem. Most of these matter. I'm not talking about external sciences of whatever we do, the science and medicine, law, or anything that we built up as civilization, looking out as objects and then trying to make it. That's all fine and good. I have no problem with that. But my problem is, why are we not paying inner sciences? That is where I see a lot of suffering, because I'm a doctor, and also people come to me when they are in trouble, mostly, right? I have my own friendships and all of that. That is okay. But then a lot of my time is given to people who have some kind of suffering, or some kind of need, or somebody, a friend of mine, for example, he was in a big trouble because of he kind of got married again, and the wife was kind of upset about it and all that, right? He calls me about that, and then I have to be ready to engage with him. And it may not take just a couple of hours, it will take few hours to get him out of that immediate crisis, and then make him realize what he did, which is right or which is not right. And then to make him see without hurting him is a challenge, right? But that takes what you said about, to make them experience, to make them understand the experiential knowledge of suffering and how to go beyond, takes a lot of their own unconditioning of what they have learned. You see, so they don't accept. But then, if he is self-righteous, for example, he thinks whatever he did is right, and he will justify all that. But then, to make them feel like what they have done is not really right in the universal principles way, universal law way. Okay, you are hurting a human being, a woman, by doing this for your own needs. Then however you justify yourself, I can see that, everybody can see through that, right? It's not an opinion, it's a kind of a fact. We can see that. So once we see that, just because he's my friend, if I support him, then I'm not doing the right thing, right? Even though I don't know the woman and everything, I have sympathy for her because she's going through suffering, right? So to show somebody this kind of uh, exposure to themselves is one of the hard things, because people are established in thought and intellectual going out, not going inward.
Yeah, I mean that's the tough part too, right?
Yeah.
Just like in what you said earlier, right? What we say, it comes from, you say, our hearts, and we say it to people, and without wanting to have the appreciation, because and also when you're dealing with addressing, helping people, right?
Yeah.
It has to be shown. Yeah, that is a different, definitely a skill, right? That we had to, yeah.
I'll tell you.
It's tough, right? Because I was trying to do similar things, but not in the sense of what you're doing, but
what
without
it is
telling
that,
them
yeah,
directly the path, and you have to kind of guide them so they can feel the
yeah.
experience, right?
But the many of the people I see, uh, the coaches and all, they also come because they have this tough situation they cannot resolve. So they come and ask me, and then they go and work with their clients. So that's fine. But then usually I ask them, can somebody who is helpless himself, can he help somebody who is in need of the help? You yourself are helpless. How can you go and help somebody? Why I say that is, it is very evident whether you are coming from this cognitive, intellectual, conceptual framework, that is our intellectual mentality and all that. That's good for the outward things. Like a chat GPT is very good cognition booster, right? But it's not going to solve your suffering. It will solve suffering of doing a thing too long. It will cut short my time. That's good, but not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody who is in achy because her husband got went and married somebody. Then she has the suffering. That's not going to be solved by her, by this one, right? So like that, the coaches that come to me, they are good-hearted, well-intentioned, but never looked at this. They themselves cannot handle their own suffering, their own problems when they go into that. You know, what is the key thing on this?
Through my experience, I feel like, I when I tell it's through my experience, right? Throughout, because if I can't talk about something that is not yet in the experience, right?
Yeah.
And so coming from my side of thing, I can only say, if you're suffering and hurting at that time, it's time to take that pause and just step away from that
Yeah.
situation that is so, like, might be so hurtful, right?
They'll
And
ask
just,
you
like,
how.
take some time. Yeah,
They'll ask you how. Usually, that's the question comes at you.
yeah. For me, like, when these things happen to me, I just, like, I try everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will give you the clue. No, no, no. I will
You
give
want
you.
it.
I will give you
Yeah.
the clue, and people also will be able to understand that. How do I do that? Is if I come from my intellect, from my medical knowledge, or whatever it is, but the woman is really having this ache of the heart, feeling betrayed, feeling let down, feeling like a grief. She lost a relationship, and she never thought that would happen, and all that, right? So that achiness, all that will not go away by my saying, "Oh, I'm so knowledgeable, I can tell you all these things." And no, they will not be able to. So I have to come from a completely different dimension that is within all of us. I'm not special or anything, evidence. But the thing is, the big self I'm talking about, where you don't have yourself the movement of thought that takes you into concepts and all of that. So when the person or the patient feels that you are not analyzing it, you are not intellectualizing it, you are not preaching, or you are not giving them instructions as to what to do, they will never be able to, get the sukun, or they call it in Sanskrit. That means comfort from you. But if you can calm that movement of thought, remember that word, movement of thought, and then be there as that bigger self, or real interior real self, and that is very calming them, because their mental movement also stops. Obviously the situation is there. The situation provoked this constant thought. We call it worry cycle, right? And it beats on itself, it beats on itself, it becomes much more as the unity crisis is developing, right? The more sensitive the person, the deeper they go into problem. But then the moment I am not judging, I'm not standing there with a superior outlook. I understand everything about it. You are none of it. Just staying with them at the human level, at the conscious level. They feel that you don't have to express anything. The mind goes calmer for them. And then you are there listening. You are there truly listening because your intellect itself calmed down. So you don't have any movement there. So you're actually correctly listening. Maybe once in a while one word will come out, but otherwise you are the very act of you are listening to them. You are not judging them. You are really giving any instructions. That itself, that act of listening, completely again present moment, again flow. All those things come. All this is your movement of thought is not there. See what happened to modern society is we are always talking outside or in the mind, self-talk. We are never quite at that dimension. And that requires practice. That requires assigning some time for this every day. And then really trying to calm ourselves down, not with anything expectation, just for the calmness. Okay, that's why I said you have to discover these states by being calm within yourself, and then you will find out you are not irritated because you are not judging that somebody has to be this way, and then you are really not passing judgment on them because they are suffering. And so all that is considered as acceptance of what they are going through by you without telling a word. So it's not about the other person going on talking about because their status is like, but it's about you, what you are calming yourself down. Then that calmness really helps the other person also. Actually, a lot of minds calm down. I saw this in the emergency room several times in 90s when I was in Brooklyn. Our hospital is one of the busiest hospitals. We used to get all sorts of big codes and all that. In the morning, the moment 6, 7 o'clock my shift starts, I used to live just opposite the hospital. All our residents would live opposite. There was a Trump Towers, they have them in Brooklyn. We used to live there, they are just opposite. So we used to walk across and come to the hospital. And by the time I come there, 7 o'clock, there are already 3 or 4 real serious cases that need attention right away, this second, not in a few minutes. So I had to rush into the job on this, the moment I got in second. Sometimes 3 codes are there. Each code has 3 different sets of teams that are working on different sets of things. But a physician has to give all the directives, right? And I'm the only physician. I have to handle all the 3. So I used to stand in the middle of the CC1, where all 8 CCU beds are rolled in, rolled out in the open CCU. That's the emergency room division we have. And then I used to be so focused on each patient. I know exactly where the patient status is by reading the rhythms and understand, asking them a question about blood pressure and do you feel a pulse or blood pressure, how it is, how is the rhythm, how is the kind of, there's a way method to the madness. But still, unless I myself am calm, I will not be able to control the crowd because like 20 people are there working on 3 different patients, right? I'm just telling you the situation and then how trying to be calm within helps us in any situation, any crowd, anywhere that we do anything like a conducting the room on Clubhouse or moderating it or participating in a debate, participating in a webinar, participating in a master class, anywhere, unless you are calm within. Suppose you are presenting something, somebody else comes in, they know better than you about this particular topic, and they may counter you, they may argue because they have a investment to show people that he knows. So he should get all the business, for example. Then he may challenge you, and then he may be argumentative and not really trying to give you room to respond. You will be doing. Then, how are you within? You discover. That is the self-discovery I'm talking about. How you respond, how you react to that, and then you don't pass judgment. You just observe it. Okay, what is it that's reacting? My intellect, my mental attitude, my habits that are automatically, or my investment into my own ego that is getting damaged. So my status, my authority is getting eroded. Then you get threatened. Then you get panicky and all that. So it's a call question of our interior rather than the opposite person. That's all I wanted to make a point.
Yeah, I understand that part.
Yeah,
You know, yeah, I see you do it several times here. So
yeah,
I experience your experience.
yeah. It's only, yeah. There's a second part of this. How can you be like that with everybody? You know, how can you be not reacting to anybody like that? That is, suppose you have compassion, passion for everybody, right? Then you are passionate, what you want to say, that's fine. But then you have passion for everybody in the sense, whether they agree with you or not, still you make them be themselves, right? And then you respect that. But not only that, what it is you remember that principle Christ said, if somebody talking out of ignorance or whatever it is, he said, actually they were killing him, they were doing some all the putting on the cross and all that, right? But even in the pain and in all that, he has this words like forgive them, my Father, for they know not what they are doing. They are doing something drastic and all that. And the same thing with the people who want to argue about these things without experiencing what is the deeper spiritual truth, and then want to be exerting their ego basically, or the personality, which is not really they are. What they are actually is the different thing completely, right? And once you understand they are ignorant of their own self, that becomes a big deal. Then you don't judge them by their movement of thought, but their not knowing is also evident. But just because they don't know, you don't have to blame them. And sometimes it becomes, yeah, it is dependent on us how we communicate what we really mean. You see, then it becomes a very valid thing. Okay, I want to improve my communication skills. I want to improve my own way of living it and then communicating it. See, so it's not like we are feeling bad about it. No, not that. It's a question of what other way I can explain this to them, and then you work on that. Then it becomes much easier next time. So you can tell them, okay, I'm not looking for an argument, but I'm looking for a communication channel. Can we agree that we both see these things in a different perspective? That's okay. Can we agree to disagree? And 90% of them, people calm down and say, okay, I don't agree with you, but that's okay. So it's all looking at ourselves. It's all discovering ourselves, how we are, where we are. And as you said, it's not going to happen just like that. It's going to happen maybe few months, few years, and whatever. It depends upon different people. But the main thing is, by me being calm like that in my thoughts, Anya, I am able to be really perceived like a good listener. And also, they somehow feel that empathy, that loving kindness that is there, they feel it. And then They don't have to tell me that, but later on they tell, I felt like relieved of all the suffering after I talked to you. That's what they say. Generally, that's what they say. They say, oh, half an hour ago I came here miserable. Now you kind of lifted me out of it. I said, I did not do lift it. You did it yourself. That's what I have to show them. You did it yourself. That means I'm not making my ego go up. See, immediately people, oh yeah, nothing. They feel so happy that somebody praises them. They're allowing the ego come up again. Don't do that. Just be very alert at the time, and then thankfully thank them, and then they can go. But don't allow this reaction go inward. You see,
Yeah.
most of the time I see people are oh, I'm supporting. Not, they are not supporting, they're actually boosting the ego. And these people who are letting the boost, that's why the dopamine or likings, comments, they all become important for them, because they depend on that. They can't be happy. You say, like me, they don't come and talk and go, because that's all I want. Many people come and go, and some people stay, but a few people come once in a while, and then I can have discussion with one person also. Most of the time, what I want to say, I will say. If the other person contributes, well and good. Okay, or if they just ask me questions, well and good too. So, because I am not dependent on anybody. I come free, I go free. But a lot of people come and then they want to be fed, they want to be encouraged, they want to be appreciated, they want to be, given a lot of kudos or congratulations, whatever, right? People want them to say, then they become addicted to that. So that becomes a problem, you know. They don't see that, but that becomes a problem. Unless they do the rooms, they can't feel like they're having the uppityness lifted from the rooms. See, isn't it sad that you have so much abundance in you and around you, and then people depend on superficial things like that?
Yeah,
That's,
the thing with this is, Dr. Rao, the way we've been conditioned to,
yeah, yeah,
receive and give is totally different, and that's why it has to be addressed from that
exactly,
angle to
exactly.
transition to understanding, right?
Yeah, that is the conditioning. Is the people don't even know that they are conditioned. You know. So if I ask them, do you look for likes or comments in your thing? Oh, it will get more looks, more. I mean, all these clubhouse rooms, when they go, they want to give chance to everybody to say a few sentences. But if you, what is the understanding out of all the room? It's very little. Everybody says whatever they want to say, and there's no pattern of possible thing, a deeper discussion going into expertise, whatever, that is not there. Only certain rooms I saw. But basically, whoever is the moderator, see, he thinks he's superior than anybody else, so he can say, oh, you cannot talk beyond this 1 minute, whatever. That's ridiculous when you do like that. So just ask yourself, what am I getting from this room? Am I really getting the insights that are important? Just because they have a voice, they know English, they can talk, doesn't mean they are wise people. So I look my wisdom, not even the wisdom app. I look at wisdom from the inward investigation, from understanding all that, and from the life itself. And also, if some people say, oh, you are doing so much and all that, I don't let it go to my head, basically. Even at that moment, being alert, that's all I'm saying. Then you will go free from the room. Like you came room free, and then you went to the room, out of room free. Then you don't have the brain fog. Now I understand why I don't have the brain fog.
Yeah, so you cleanse it between the rooms and you go.
No, it is never allowed to accumulate.
Yeah, okay.
So then where is the chance for cleansing? If it allows, then we can do that. But I don't even allow it to go. This I learned from Buddha. He said things are coming at you from the world. That's the first arrow. and that you cannot do anything about it. But what do you do? How you react to it? See, it's a progressive deconditioning. Like you said, we are all conditioned and we don't pay attention to that, right? And that's why you have to decondition yourself first and then learn this. This is what I talk about conscious thought. You are thinking only positive, only life repleting things and all that. You will have a life like that. Why do you think I have abundance? They think even, oh, he's a doctor, he'll someone. None of it is true. But also, I don't really crave for those things. Never did, you know. But the abundance is within all of us. You see, that's why they don't understand what does he mean by abundance. How can he be so happy in all situations? How can he, how, like for example, the health problem I had at the time, but I got it within a month, right? I don't want to go on saying that, oh, I was having that, I want his sympathy from him. He doesn't even remember. I don't even remember it on a daily basis. Only when the topic comes, I may tell somebody, but I don't go back and say, oh, I suffered so much. None of it. It was not there, you know. So everybody can be like that. Can you imagine a doctor having the insight and going back to his patients and again bringing all that to them?
Yeah, I mean, on like situations like this where we talk about stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so the topic would be, and well, if we're talking about, you.
No, the deconditioning has to happen outside. You know, then you will bring in a lot of your own personal inwardness and all that, right? And that cannot happen in the group. You see, I told you wisdom people so many times. You all say we all grow together, we all learn from each other. It doesn't happen like that for the internal matters. Outward matters, yeah. You want to teach them how to manage money, fine. You can tell them all the mentoring things, all the very wise things that you learn about that particular part, because it's an outward thing, it's an objective thing. That's good, you know. You have to do that. It's okay, science. But then greed about money is something your inner experience that you have to have an inward journey and find out what is real, what's not, how the greed is bad for your soul, and all those things you have to discover yourself. That is the point of this room. Don't intellectualize things of the inner quality, inner residing things, and then really make them like a problem. You know, that's what people are doing because they are depressed. They want to take a medication for that. Without understanding how their thinking is, how negative it is, how deeply it goes, and unless the conditioning is understood and deconditioned, that is a cognitive reframing in modern terms. In yoga, they call pratipaksha bhavana. That means you are aware of what you are thinking and you are aware the negative nature of it, and immediately you change that to positive. Then you create a positive life for yourself, no matter what the conditions are. That is the abundance I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm getting to appreciate that a lot because once it's like for myself now, once you become aware of the emotions that
Yeah.
then you begin to like almost in your mind step back, right?
Yeah.
And then you can process things consciously, right? And I'm really like that part. Now that I see it happening,
Yeah.
yeah, then I can certainly decide on what to do. It just like took a long time before I can do that, right?
Yeah.
I have to really separate.
It does, and it's a very arduous thing. It's not that easy, And also, I think one of the chief problems modern society is having is they all allow mind-to-mind talk. Okay, there are very few sources where they are out of the mind and talking from their inner reality. That is where this mistaken or misdirected intellectual exercise is not good for you. Rather, going inward and discovering yourself with intuition is the way for you. That is not happening because, for example, you are talking to me here and you go to another room, then you go to discuss everything with the mind. There is no sense of this dimension at all. And that's why the people fortify the conditioning more. In general, not only here, in general life, school or college or work, everywhere you go, this is the same thing goes on, right? Continuously. First of all, they don't
Yeah.
understand too. When I say mind is an object to you, your real self, that itself is very difficult to comprehend, to understand, and to live it. See, that's what I was always telling you. Live, even Martin also, I told him so many times, don't get into the mind, don't get into the mind, get out of it. I always warn him, and he kind of catches that and then comes out of it. Otherwise, he has to deal with people who are relating only at the mind level.
Yeah. I
But
need
it
to
is a,
understand.
yeah, it's pretty cool though. Once you discover, it's very cool. It makes you feel like you are not affected by the movement of that. So it's very cool for you. It doesn't. You remember, I always say when somebody say, "How are you?" I'm blissful. That's what it is. You are blissful. That means you don't have this up and down thought. Steady, and also use that for what you want to do.
Yeah, I do like the quiet times myself.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
quiet time all the time, but
yeah,
to think about what you're doing between appointments, right?
yeah. That is huge. That is huge because um, tasting that quietness, Sanya, makes you come back to it. Okay, but there is a stage where you're always in that quietness, and then take like your room has started, you use the intellect, but then you don't get it. So you never away from that awareness aspect of it. That's why I've named my wellness club hour like a exercise in awareness, not exercise in body or exercise in thought, which we do, but exercise in awareness makes you get out of the identification with thought and be established in awareness. And then you are always aware. And then, like everybody else, you ask them, they are always in thought. Either thinking or not thinking, they are saying, thinking is happening to me, it's going on, going on. But when you are really understand this and go and discover that awareness, you are established in the awareness, and then use body and mind as your instruments. Body is the external instrument, and mind is the antakarana vritti, they call it. That is internal instrument. And so they identified this very clearly from the beginning. That's why they're even killed no matter what the situation is. Actually, when you were a student, you are coming to it. We have so many crises in our family in India here with the COVID and everything, right? I was dealing with the life and death issues, really. But did you ever see me frustrated? You must have thought everything is going so poor in Dr. Rao's life, right?
I mean, I haven't seen you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I
That's
don't
what
see
I'm
you.
saying. Anybody can be like that, not just me. Anybody be like that. That's my point. My point is not that how we are great is not great. It's a kind of understanding and coming to from the inner self realization and staying in the self, and so that the mind don't have the waves, and that itself is very silent, very serene, and really tranquil. So when you are tranquil, um, not necessarily you want to control your emotions and all. No, tranquil. There was a story. I think I might have told you this. This man who is a navy merchant, right? he kind of puts all the goods on the navy ship, and then that was the modes of transportation in ancient. I think it is in Middle East or somewhere it happened. So this man is so established in this wisdom. So his story was told in the circles about that, and he has a grown son, and he's in 20s or so. So this old man allows that son to take a ship and take the goods and go with some people, so that they will act as slaves or whatever at that time. And they went. It usually takes several months to go and several months to come back. Okay, so a few months later, somebody comes to him and they say, uh, "Your son's ship drowned." And this man says, "Thank you, God." Okay, and everybody is aghast. What is this crazy guy saying thank you, God, when he heard his son has drowned? You know? And then few weeks later, actually at the time Karnish was so poor, right? Somebody come back and says, "Oh, we got the news that his son is okay. He was seen lately. I think the previous report was mistaken. Somebody else has really, drowned." Then he says, "Thank God." Yeah. So the near people who are near him, they said, "We can't understand. You said thank you when you heard that he drowned, and now you heard this good news. Then you are taking the same thing. What's going on?" You know. Then he said, "See, I learned to be peaceful by keeping my mind not move and being identified with my real self. And I'm thanking God for not letting me go back on the movement of thought and then be the grief and all of that. Because everybody dies and everybody has this, but then once I understand it's not permanent thing, it's something that they will, continue as the spirit. Only the body dies. That kind of thing I know. But the thing is, I'm thanking God for keeping me quiet and not having the movement of thought. So this movement of thought is the cause of every problems. It can create external things, okay, but then we are too much attached to that and forgetting our real self. That's the point. But once you really know, yeah, this is what I am. I own this thought as an object. I own this body as an object. Then you are not having the mental problems. All the depression is the movement of negative thought. All the anxiety, movement of forward thinking, worry machine, and all that, right? And so many modern mental psychological problems are because of that. Okay, what is the difference between the ancients and some of the modern psychologists? Is the modern psychology is based on basically thought. They don't bring the different dimension beyond thought, whereas the ancients were establishing that dimension beyond thought and come from there, so they manage the thought very well, and they did not allow these psychological things to happen, and also they were experiencing this bliss and tranquility of that. Do you understand why I'm so gaga about ancient wisdom?
It's great, Dr. Ram.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming to see what you said, but I had to kind of pause and
Yeah.
break things down
Yeah.
a little bit, right? And
Yeah.
it's not so much the thing, it's just the experience part doesn't,
Yeah.
what you said doesn't make sense until you go to that experience, right?
Yeah. That's why we have patience for everybody, because everybody has to go through their journey. Okay, that varies, and that varies according to the conditioning, according to the depth of conditioning and the surroundings and all that. Some people, they are only worry about surviving, okay, and some people only worry about getting a good job and all that. Some people worry about getting good name and all that, and some people, they kind of come out of it, they have heart for everything, they kind of feel they do that, and then they kind of elevate themselves. And then they open their perspective, look at the world, look at the entire humanity, the problems, what happened all. And then their mind starts to really evolve to the extent where you are going beyond the mind into your real self. And once you establish in the real self, then you say you found way to transcend the suffering by understanding it, not by overcoming it, but just transcend it in the sense it makes a much more better perspective for you than it was before. And then not only that, you discover that you tapped into the source of bliss and joy and happiness. And once you touch that, outward pleasures, synthetic joys, and all that, they don't hold water.
I think we, the time to realize that everything is within you to like whatever it is that
Yeah, exactly.
you want to be able to do. It's already there. It's just like, last time we talked about, and I didn't realize that because we were like always in our thoughts, right? And always thinking, okay, like when you said the past and the future, right? And so when you can like separate the two, right?
Yeah.
Then you begin to see things like a little more clearly than you would.
See, mind can make a hell or heaven out of us. Okay, so you can make a hell out of heaven with the mind, or heaven out of hell with the mind. So but then if you are identified with the mind, how can you understand that? See, that is where we are brought as a child, and they say you have to think deep, you have to think more good, you have to do all the thought is focused on, but not what is beyond thought. Yoga brings that out. A lot of ancient sciences built that out, and then they used to make these people know about. So at one time, ancient India has these big universities all over the world. People used to come and learn this. Now, invasion, all these foreign cultures, they have come. Yeah, obviously, cultural innovations will be there, right? Like we all have come to United States, we bring our culture, we bring some influence like that. So that is there. But then it went on so much on that they lost it. Last time, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about majority of people. But then still, there are some people who discovered these things very valuable and they live it, and they preserved it. Now we are in a time where we can communicate around the world. My lecture, there's so many people in India listen to this. So they may not come and actually participate, but they do send me questions. They send me appreciation. They tell me when they come here, oh, I've been listening to you for years, like that. What my point is, I can communicate to a lot more people easily than before, right? And also we can really get everybody to understand we are not all separate. We are all together in oneness. And the illusion is, the Maya is that we misunderstand like we are separate. It is the separateness from that oneness is the illusion. Once you understand that, then you are discovered, hey, we are all in one energy, we are all in one consciousness. Then the perspective changes completely. So Sanya is not my competitor, or Sanya is not somebody different. Sanya is separate from my consciousness. No, at that level of being, we are all the same conscious being. But then body is different, mind is different, and all that. That's okay. But then they're also actually part of the whole. They're not really separate. The sense of separateness is the big deal people have to overcome.
All right, great. I mean, in terms of the discussion we have today, just for me, it's just like the realization, that we, as human beings, these experiences are what we're here for in many ways, right? And
Yes.
we choose that experience.
Yeah, that's what they identified ancient. They said to take a birth of human being is to the purpose is to turn inward and realize who we are. That's what they mean. I understand completely because that is the one which made all the difference in my life, at least. But you don't want to push anybody to come and do this right away. You understand what's the difficulties and you let them grow into it slowly. But then what is my thing is come and share to my best my ability without really pushing on anybody or without forcing anybody, but understanding where they are. They are there. This is where, as a human being, we have this intelligence to go inward and find out, right? We can be over the survival needs and then limit them as much as possible, and then don't get caught in that cycle of karma all the time, but then just do what you need to do to survive and then to really help people and everything, right? But then you turn inward, make time for that, and then doing because you have the intelligence. Use that. That's why human life is important.
The other thing that I am noticing is, what you said earlier about other influences in many ways, right?
Yeah.
Like the books or whatever it is that you hear from different medias,
Yeah.
and now it looks to me like it's in many ways static, but I make it come into life in many ways, right?
Yeah.
But whereas those are you can consider also a tool, right? To
Yeah.
use as you need to unlock certain things, right?
Yeah.
Or get something clear, but it's not meant to be like objectified in many ways, like a thing intellectual.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, the moment you separate that, Sanya, everything becomes clear to you. You can go and use your intellect to make a living and do all of that. But at the same time, you may turn that into service rather than attending to the wanting more. Okay, you are liberated from that. Then you will make good use of the money that you made. That's fine. But at the same time, you're not bonded by the sense of greed, which everybody else may be proposing because they don't know anything better. You see, that means you divinize whatever you do. That's the case with me. I want to find divinity in whatever I'm doing, in whoever I'm talking to, whoever I'm interacting with. That's a huge thing that happens. That means you are able to see the divinity within yourself, not in egoistic sense, but ego not there, then you can feel that spark of divinity that give you animation to your body and mind, right? You see that very clearly and grateful for it and reverent for it. But then you see that in everybody else.
Yeah, this is the part where I'm starting to see,
Yeah.
in appreciation of all that's, no
Yeah.
matter what, right? In
Yeah.
terms of,
But be careful. Are you saying that their mental sets are okay and or are you really in touch with that self?
yeah, for that, I had to like distance again, right?
Yeah.
Myself
Yeah.
to really reflect on, remember the question that the thing that you tell me, right? In terms of the why. Is
Yeah.
it me or the higher self? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That is called viveka, discrimination of what you really are and what you are not. Then develop some dispassion to what you really are not. See, most of the struggle is developing this dispassion to the things that are not self. That's the bigger self we're talking about in this sense. That is the spark of divinity in everybody. And staying in that is not possible because we are always surrounded by the things that are not the self. talk into anybody, or discuss anything, or having a relationship, anything, these things come. So being away from the things that are not self is the challenge.
Yeah. I, but now with these, different things that we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
We can use it like the tools that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, this is my appreciation.
No, all the tools are for the outward thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't need any tool to be yourself.
It's true on that, right? As I was doing, like, as
doing a good presentation, artificial intelligence is a tool, but with all its enormous volume of information, it's still a cognitive tool. It is an enhancer of the cognitive. So if you ask the chat GPT, are you conscious? They say, no, I'm programmed to give information. I'm not here to experience anything. And that's the answer it will give you.
So you asked it.
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah. It will tell you that, it will tell you that. Yeah. So it's not a, you see what they are worried about now. I'm looking at other aspect too. What is this artificial intelligence? Because such a technology, this is going to cause a lot of upheaval. That's for sure. Um, and because this is one technology they were describing, uh, every other technology up until now is there to empower us. Okay, but this is the first time the technology itself can empower itself and then rule over us. That is machine learning and feeding on the term. You see, ChatGPT is much better than when it came in. So many inaccuracies are gone because it learns from everything at a rapid pace, like a normal human beings cannot learn. So that's the way we created a monster in that way. And that's where they want to, Europeans are trying to pass a bill. And there was a congressional investigation of Chat GPT, Sam Goldman, all those people, they went there and talked to the Congress. And he himself, the OpenAI executive, he said, uh, mm, get some regulation to the Congress, asking them to control this. But I think the rabbit is out of the hat, is out of the basket. So it is going to be, uh, it's going to take its own course, and then we have unleashed it, and now we got to learn how to be not a victim of that. So that's what people are working on. I'm focusing on that too. I embraced AI. I'm using AI. I'm getting tremendously benefited for my external activities, but that's also a tool for me. Like my mind is a tool for me. That's also a tool for me. Maybe a better tool, but it's a tool, right? So I'm not into that way. And then I also see so many people will be affected by this, almost all industries. And also, what happens when it empowers itself? That's the question that people are asking now. It's not me pointing out. I just was in webinars where they were talking about this. What is AI going to do the mankind? What is the upheaval that's coming, how it looks like. So that is where the concern is. It is empowering itself so fast, so much, so it's kind of threatening. And also what happens if bad characters take this into their hand and use it for nefarious purposes. That's a big concern too. Even when nuclear bomb came, Einstein said, this is a technology that will change the world. Yeah, he did. But also, a lot of people are trying to use it for nefarious purposes, right? Blackmailing and all that. So, when you unleash a power, you got to be careful about unleashing it and then really understanding all the consequences. I think they did try at the Google in the beginning, I believe, according to that man who left Google. And But then Microsoft bought the OpenAI, and they went ahead and released this much more before all these so-called precautions they can do anything like that. And because the market, again, because the market share, Google is losing it. That's why they also entered it. They're trying to do still. Even Pichai, the Sundar Pichai, he said that too. I'm concerned, but also hopeful that we can fix it. But that's not the way we looked at atomic energy, for example. We thought all good things will happen. But then bad things of nuclear bomb on the Japan happened, right? Even now, we can be obliterated in a second by some guy who has these nuclear arms. Several times, not even one time. Several times we can blow up, you know. And I'll see what we did to the planet as a whole, you know. So it's all a question of not getting involved. How many people really know about these technologies before they found ChatGPT? NVIDIA was there for 10 years now, but they were preparing all sorts of things at the time. And Microsoft was at it, and there were several features we are using already, artificial intelligence. Or Siri was basically artificial intelligence too. So there's so much. I was following it because some of the Indian kids, they were really enthusiastically embraced this, and they were coming and giving updates. So I was following them for years, and also the scientists in the Canada, in US. There were so many people that are really seriously involved. They are not normal people. They are very good people. They wanted to explore this for the resolution of the planet problems or pollution or health problems. Like AI also now, uh, health-wise, it can do remarkable things where Sonia can reach out to a lot of things by herself and really use a lot of knowledge by herself without becoming a medical expert. And that means you're more empowered. Let me say that way. Okay. Not only you, so many people around the world can maintain their health. But then, if at the same time they can unleash also robots and other things that they can do on their own, and they can implant chip they were talking about, implanting a chip in your head, Sonia. You want to take it? Then they will control you with the chip. That's the idea. They were
So I
saying,
thought like the thing was like with Elon with
yeah,
Link and all of these things, right?
yeah. I mean, the thing is, they may put something there, but then that's um, they may use that to establish a feudal system, something like a dictatorial system to control people. Even the voting, they're worried about. They can do that too.
Yeah, everything now we almost can't tell if
Yeah,
it's real or not real, right? All
yeah,
the stuff that's coming out, it's just like it's quite can
yeah.
be quite scary in many ways,
Oh,
right?
yeah. It's not only scary, concerning, deeply
Yeah.
concerning. But sometimes you remember I told you about the book, um, Battle Without Brain. That book, I put it in the community, and they simply removed it. Nobody allowed to read because all these people are looking for artificial intelligence to do a lot of good things for them. So any negative news that is coming up as a fact, also they are not able to take it. That's kind of sleeping. That's kind of ignoring the problem. Like they did with planet health, they are going to do with this too. I mean, you are also excited about making more landing pages like that. Right? That's not fine. But then, how many times you have starved down and see what is the problem it could be down there? That's what is I'm asking everybody to do. You know?
Yeah, just a different discussion.
Yeah.
That's more right.
But you know what? That is what it is. Even
Yeah.
in the presence of a negative situation like that, what you can do with your interior is in your hand. I'm going to observe it because as a responsible citizen, I'm kind of looking both viewpoints, right? But I'm not going to be allowing myself to be imbued by misery and depression because this technology has come. It is there. We just have to grow to be responsible about it and then be conscious of what is happening. That's all I'm doing. I'm not being negative or I'm allowing myself to be in that negativity. None of it. It is not there. You know.
Alright, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
either way,
yeah, I was inviting these other guys anyway.
right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I know, but the thing is, it's going to be a factor in not even not a too long distance. Within 5 years, Sanya, there will be a lot of changes in the employment.
Yeah, we only have like GPT for like several months, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
But that's already in news now.
The changes are so 5 years it will be completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, and I don't think even 5 years, the way it is going, in 2 years, we will see a lot of upheaval about this. You know? And
Yeah, not just behavioral, because like you said, all the information is
Yeah.
being fed
yeah.
through the artificial intelligence now.
But you know what,
Doesn't
Sanya?
have that consciousness to make which right and wrong kind of
I am,
decisions, right?
as far as information retrieval is concerned, because it has this vast volumes of information, it can put together and say some things very well. I was very impressed with some things, medical or even human being level. It is very impressive. But then it cannot understand the real intuitive sciences or consciousness as we understand it. It doesn't have a clue about it. It only gives the information that is already put in there. But I will give a simple example. For example, it can tell you that Patanjali has these 8 steps in yoga, okay? Because it can refer from the book and say, but it can have the insight of each step. It can only describe the step, but it cannot really give you what is the wisdom behind it, why those things have come. And once you understand how your practice really changes. If you just read, for example, you do only 1 step or 2 steps, right? But most of the people don't do 8 steps together. They don't even have foggiest idea about the last step anyway. So they may somebody may have described it, but to experience that is very rare, and most of the people are not even capable of it. So it is very good assistant to go through the information and allow it us to be available for us in a very, very major different way. So that is going to be a big deal. But in terms of inner matters, I don't think it has. But on the other hand, people like me will work with more people to really make them understand this. That's what I said.
Yeah, so there's, it comes down to the balance, because we talk about the prompt engineering and all of these things too, right?
Yeah.
And, because it is coming from us, and it's also the information feeding into it as we prompt it and guide it, right?
Yeah.
In the different direction it's going to.
No. Our intellect is very, very evolved, no doubt about it. But then that's for the external things. So, for example, medicine. Is a patient just a conglomerate of organs to fix organs and ask them to feel good? So my patients, they have feelings, they have experiences, they have a lot of fears, a lot of anxieties. So those people will be not satisfied just because I kind of gave them a prescription. It's how I talk to them, how I convey that I am empathetic to their suffering, how I really want them to see things in a holistic way and all that. All that matters, right? So that for that, I have to be a human being first. I cannot be just running data and then say, "Oh, you should be feeling good." Actually, I know a psychiatrist who was in our town at one time. I used to refer patients to him because that was part of practice, right? And then they used to go there, and he used to see them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I believe, and then gave them pill and says, "Go, you feel better." And then they didn't feel better. They came back the next day. He said, "You're supposed to feel better. That's it." So it's denying the actual what is state and asking the medications to do everything. That's the mechanical, that kind of model is still going on. That's why a lot of people don't feel good when they go and visit their own doctor. They're not satisfied. But then you got to be a human being first. That means you have to uncondition whatever you conditioned yourself. Hi, Kanan. How are you?
I'm gonna take leave now, Dr. Ram.
Oh, sure, Sanya. Let me talk to my friends here. Yeah.
Nice talking with you again.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Kanan, how are you? I think I can't hear you. You have to unmute your mic. Parth, how are you?
Hello, hello, hello. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Parth. So, you have any questions in the topic we're talking about? Or comments?
Yes, yes. Like, what is the intellectual exercise which you have written in that topic?
Yeah, you came at the end of the hour, but this is about spiritual realization, is not intellectual exercise, but a self-discovery by unconditioning yourself. So
Oh, it's about
your inner self. Yeah, yeah, inner self. You say it's more like we talk a lot and then we kind of get lost in the thought, but we have to experience who we are, and then looking at the experience, we can unlock what we are and then stay in that. It's like ancient practices of yoga and all these things are mainly for that self-realization. I was doing the series for a couple 10 days or so, maybe. I don't remember, but today is the climax of this series, and I'm ending on that topic.
yes, yes. Even I follow masters like Muji and like Rupert Spira, Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
So I have an idea of it, but in your sessions, what exactly do you talk about in your sessions, and
That
what related to?
it's not an intellectual exercise. We are talking about experiential knowledge. See, if you quote Moji, if you quote Eckhart Tolle, you are doing intellectual presentation. But if you experience that within yourself, that is your experiential knowledge. So I'm talking about that.
Yes, yes. And
I suggest, Partha, you go and listen to the replay, because a lot of things are already discussed at length in the beginning of the program. Then you will have full picture. Then you can communicate with me or come back tomorrow, and we will engage in a discussion. Okay. Usually this is done between 6 to 7, and stayed on just to engage you guys. Kanan, how are you? Can you hear me now? I can't hear him. He's not unmuting.
Hi. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry I wasn't on my phone.
Yeah.
I always appreciate your room, so I came in. I know you're at the end.
Yeah.
The only thought I had is that when you guys were talking about the technology and stuff, I was thinking that the point is to go beyond the word.
Yeah.
And that's the human ability to go beyond, like, our intellect and the words we have in our brain, and we can go to another place.
Yeah.
In our consciousness and create something brand new. Wow.
No, that is what ancients talked about, and because we always think the modern age thought is the everything be and all, right? But what the ancient cultures did several thousands years ago, there is our awareness, our conscious spirit, or that ignites our mind and body. That is beyond the thought. Once you are there, you can see the thought also as an object, body also as an object. And our confusion is we get caught up in that mind and the intellectual activity, identify with it, And then we forget that we are the awareness. So what I was always talking about is, don't identify with the thought, but be aware and then use the thought and see the external things are done well. We cannot lose all the civilization we have. But then also at the same time, because this is really used to, not people, liberate people or make them their own self, even women also, right? They can empower themselves from within. And you have to allow time, you have to allow occasion, opportunity for people to sit down and reflect. But if you drive them do stuff all the time, where is the time to go inward? See, I think there's a problem with your connection. I just heard you and then you disappeared again. So, hi Ivy, how are you? Well, anyway, it's already coming to 7:30. I was supposed to end by 7 o'clock. So I will I will end this here, and I'll see you back again tomorrow. And there'll be a different subject I'll bring up tomorrow. Mostly it's about empowering ourselves from within. So I will talk more about that. Actually, I was making some videos. Maybe I'll bring one of those videos and present them here too. Okay. Thank you
Oh,
all.
that would be
Yeah, yeah.
awesome. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, I'll bring that because they're all done. I did 30, 40 videos on different topics, but then I was not, um, publishing them. Maybe a few of them I published, and I have to publish them too. Um, Thank you all. I'll see you tomorrow again.
Thank you.
Yeah.